And we are live. Hello, welcome everybody. This is another video in support of the Black Authortuber Readathon put together by Margaret Pinard. And today we are going to talk about, hold on, I have an overlay for this. I couldn't get the book to fit on the screen right, so I thought an overlay would be better if I can find it. Oh, here it is. There, Savage City is what we're reading. I was trying to make it like sit on the bookshelf a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice.
But yeah, so we're going to talk about Savage City. Originally, I thought I was reading this one by myself, but then I'll let you introduce yourself. But Leah or Leah?
Yeah, it's Leah. I mean,
Leah.
We'll do both, but Leah, from Pen to Paper. I saw Esty, Shanon, it's Shanon, right?
Yes.
Names. Shannon's, I saw your video about doing the Black Authortuber, and I thought, well, I really wanted to jump in on it, but I already have a lot of material reading this month. And then I thought, well, I could squeeze in an audiobook of this one. And I saw your name next to it. And I thought, oh, it'd be fun to do something together. So I finished it in a day and a half by listening to it nonstop all day. It was great.
Yeah, I probably would have read this one straight through if I was not also doing charm chats and happily ever after sprints, where I was trying to at least touch all the authors who were coming to my channel. I was trying to touch their books at least and get in a little bit and read what they were offering. I started Savage City, I think, at the beginning of February, but then I just made sure I read a little bit every day to make sure that I got it done in time.
Yeah. But that's how I usually do my reading. I'll read at night and I'll read for an hour, and then go through the book, and then it's done.
Yeah, I like to read at night too. It's usually my day's over and I get to relax and just fall into the world.
Exactly.
So we'll start off talking a little bit about our thoughts. We're going to try and keep this part spoiler free, and we can talk about a little bit what the story, the premise is, and our overall thoughts for the book. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first? I'm completely open either way.
I'm open to it too. So here, I'll just make it easy and I'll just jump in first. All right. So we have Talia. All of a sudden she's thrust into this world that is unfamiliar to her, and she thinks she's dead, which is kind of a mystery to solve throughout the book. And she's mistaken for this princess, which she obviously in her world was never a princess, very far from it, her whole situation. And she's taken by these people called the Nimali, and she's known as their princess. And she has a father who loves her, which also was the opposite of her experience back on Earth. And she assumes that she must be dead and she's in some sort of weird afterlife. But it is not heavenly roses to smell. It's a lot of bloodshed and war-torn and two competing people. So the Nimali and the Fae are their enemy, and she has to kind of like walk the tightrope between these two people. And there's this Fae man, Ryan, who she is falling for, and that kind of like throws a wrench into the confusion and all of it.
Yeah. So, and there's actually a third group of people, humans, who don't have these powers, but we don't really get any exposure to them throughout the book. We know that they're there. So I do wonder if they'll come later in the series, because this is a series. And then she also has a stepbrother in this new realm or universe named Shad. So I think that's that was a different addition than what she was used to her life back in like our world. She had two stepsisters. Here she's got a stepbrother. And when I found out that story, we'll talk about that probably a little bit later in the spoiler section, but I found out the story about how he became her stepbrother. That was really sad. Yeah. But it does show the brutality of this world that she's landed in. And this is supposed to be our Earth, but it's in a different like universe, dimension. You kind of get different ideas of this. It gets a little bit clarified toward the end. But it is like after an apocalypse of some type, because everything is different. And she recognizes parts of San Francisco where she's at. And a lot of the technology from the humans previous to what they call the Sorrows, I believe, was what she recognizes, but a lot of it is gone and destroyed and things like that. So it was a really interesting read. I actually really enjoyed it. And I do like how the vehicle was set up for us to follow into this new world. We were able to follow Talia as the vehicle to understand where she came from, us into this new world, and be thrust into this magical / decay and urban lifestyle.
Yeah. I thought what was interesting too is when she says, like, I don't know what Princess Selena's hobbies were, because there's no TV, there's no books, there's no nothing, which for us living where we are now and what her lifestyle used to be, that's like a major a source of entertainment, and then there's nothing there. So it's interesting to see how she navigates just living day-to-day life. But I mean, she's thrust into very heavy days of dealing with so many expectations that are set on her that there really isn't that much time for entertainment. But it was just interesting that you kind of get to see the big difference between the two.
Yes. And the fact that she's trying to be who this person is, because she's told almost right up front from Shad, her stepbrother, don't tell anyone who you are or they will get rid of you, because there's no place for people who don't belong.
Yeah, exactly.
So she tries to get involved into this life and be who this person was. Selena was the name of the princess. And that's interesting to see how everybody reacts to her, and her trying to pull off this woman who was mostly, I guess, from what everyone says, kind of cold and distant from everyone.
Yeah, but then you see also in the book, right, there's those little moments where that she's gone to like the orphans, and she's kind of like helped people here and there. So it's kind of trying to put together these two personas of one who's very cold and royal, and then one who has a heart, and trying to put together what Selena could have been was a fun little exercise throughout the book.
And it echoes the same kind of juxtaposition of personalities in her father, the king, because he is brutal and he kills without any thought whatsoever. Yet to her, he is a loving and doting father, which she didn't have back in her life. So, yeah, I thought that was really well done.
That there's no like, I like when there's that gray area. There's no black and white. You have a mix of good and bad in each character. It makes them interesting and appealing.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to move into spoilers?
Sure. So actually, part of kind of touching on that, when her father dies, and she's sad, like she knows that what he did was wrong and he was kind of a monster in a sense, but she has that sorrow for him because she never had that loving father in, earth life. And it was just, I love that. It was like a great show of depth on the author's part to show that warring emotion within her.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that Talia, she wrestled with, trying to, figure out this man and how she should be feeling toward him, knowing the terrible things that he did, yet he loved her. So, and even when he finds out that she is not really his daughter, he still loved her.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And to the point that he's like, well, I can't believe that your earthly father didn't love you.
Yeah.
So it was a good shade to him.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to talk about any specifics that you really liked about the book?
Yeah, so I love the blending of genres, because it's kind of, well, you were mentioning that it's kind of has that manga feel to it in the sense of, when they get hit by a car, let's say, and they go to an alternate universe. I didn't know that. So I love that. I also loved that the fantasy side where there's dragons. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book with dragons and that kind of world. So that was just different and fun. And then the dystopian, I'm a sucker for dystopian. So kind of the blending of all three just made it such a very strong premise and concept for the book to be written upon.
Yeah, so I'm not typically drawn to dystopian books.
Okay.
So originally, when I joined the Black Authortuber Readathon to read one of Penelope's books, I went to read Angelborn, which is more of a contemporary urban fantasy, which I am drawn to a little less than. But I mean, I will read an urban fantasy more than I will read a dystopian.
Okay.
If I'm saying that right. Yeah. But I like the idea with angels and stuff like that. But then when Leslie, who's the author, came onto my show for Charm Chats, this is the book she chose to talk about on the show. And I thought, well, I don't want to read yet another book because I already had 22 authors coming on my show.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot of books to read this month. And I said, well, okay, I will just read Savage City instead, even though it's not the one that would draw me. So at first, it was hard for me to want to get into it because of that. But, and I would say the first chapter is confusing. Now, I don't think it's due to the fact that the author maybe didn't write that as well as some of the other chapters. I don't think that's what it was. I think it was done with a purpose because she's dying and she's taken to another world.
Yeah.
But it was confusing. So that combined with me not wanting to get into, not really liking dystopian novels, it took me a few days just to get past chapter 1.
Did the fantasy elements come in soon enough for you? Because
yes.
Right? So
I write fantasy. And then I also like like old, like epic fantasy. So I don't even like the
Okay.
technology and stuff like that. So
Ah.
yeah. But the dragons were right on par for me.
Yeah.
Shifting and
Yeah, you
stuff.
kind of only see them a little bit later. So.
Yeah. It is a bit
But
like
yeah, I guess the daemons that they're
yeah.
all, they kind of have like this symbiosis, symbiotic relationship with, that kind of comes in, I think, soon enough.
Pretty quick. And well, the healer, right? The
Yeah,
Ryan, he's a
right.
healer. He heals her almost right away.
Yeah.
And it appears magical. So
Yes, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah, once I got past that first chapter, it really sucked me in after that. And I wanted to keep reading. I had to put it aside because I had other authors coming on my show that I had to at least get into their books a little bit so I knew something about their writing. But I kept come back to it. So
yeah. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say was I love how even at the end of this book, throughout the whole book, and then even at the end, you're wanting to kind of understand even deeper how she got there and why she's there. Like,
it's a mystery that pulls you through.
Yeah, I still don't feel like it's fully answered. Like they kind of, give you little like morsels, but definitely I would like to read the future books to kind of answer that overarching question.
I don't know if we'll come back to that though, because I mean, the next two books are two other couples. So
okay.
Yeah. So I mean, and I couldn't help it. I start reading the next book already, even though I should be picking up tomorrow's author's book because I haven't started it yet.
Oh
no. But it is Shad, the stepbrother, and I don't know how you say her name. It starts with the X, the Namali. Oh no, not Namali, the Fae. That starts with an X. Oh. She's one of the ones that was captured like near the beginning of the book, but she was captured on purpose to help do the coup for the Fae.
Yeah.
So her, yeah. So it's those two's love story, but because I really wanted to know because I mentioned it to Leah behind the scenes is that I read the book all the way through. I knew that the next two books were different couples just because I had Leslie on the show a couple days ago, and she told me that the next two books are two different couples, but in the same world. So they're set right after one or the other. So it happens on the same timeline. But at the end of the book, we get an epilogue that is in. I'm trying to remember. It was not Shad's point of view. It was Ryan. No. The epilogue was somebody else's point of view.
Oh, so I'm wondering if there was an epilogue on the audiobook.
Let me see. I can pull it up and look at it again.
The last one I heard was Ryan. That was like the last chapter. So I don't think there's an epilogue in the audiobook. So that'd be interesting.
Oh no, it is Shad.
Or maybe it was Shad. Maybe I got the two mixed up and maybe it isn't on the audiobook. I can't remember now.
Maybe not. No, that is epilogue. That's Shad. I was not thinking it was him for some reason, because then when I read the reviews and people were saying that the next one was probably in Shad, and then I saw it and I was like, oh, I have to go check this out. And then it was Shad's point of view. I thought it was somebody else, but
yeah, I was pretty sure I heard them say Ryan, and that was the last chapter. So I don't even think I heard the epilogue.
We get the epilogue. Wow. You got gypped.
I did.
Oh, do we have someone stop by? Hello, Tiffany. Nice to see you. I haven't read the book, so yes, I'm not saying I just want to kiss like, but thank you. I appreciate that. So my thought is with that was one of my sticking points. There's two sticking points that I had that I really wanted more explanation for. Yeah. And one was that when she's told why she got pulled into this world, it was by the spirit when she was in the bliss. She was in the bliss, and the spirit came to her, and the spirit told her, I don't remember if spirit was the right word for it, but the daemon came to her. Yeah. And the daemon said, I've been looking for you all across the multiverse, basically, and you fit everything I needed, and so I brought you here. Yeah. There was the note that said it made her feel special. But I'm like, well, what were the requirements to bring her? Yeah, exactly. Why did it have to be here? Yeah. Why couldn't it be any other of the Earths that they could go to, unless daemons are only on this one? And if that's the case, then how did this daemon get access to all the other multiverses? If they're the only ones that, if the only Earth that they're attached to is this Earth, which makes me think, well, then there's daemons all across all the multiverses. We just don't know how to access them. Yeah. And then again, it goes back to then why wasn't it anywhere else but this one? That's right. What was the requirement that made it where he had to pull this one from that Earth to this Earth? Yeah. So
that's true. So that's why I was thinking, I didn't realize the next book was another couple, because I was like, okay, I'm okay with this as long as it's furthered in the subsequent books. But now you're telling me it's not, or good possibility it's not. So that kind of changes things for me, because I would really, yeah, if it's not going to be touched on in the future books, definitely needs more world building in that explanation. Yeah, but.
And I think another part that goes into that is Ryan was near death. His own Damon was giving him the option, do you want to continue here? At that point, when she was in the bliss, they could have decided to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
They could have gone to an Earth that was in peace and then be reborn with their daemons.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, why would you go back to this place? What's drawing you back there? Or what makes it where these daemons can only be there? But then that goes back to, well, then if the daemons can only be there, then how did he get access to the other Earth?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some logic that it didn't quite fit for me, but you know, it made her feel special. So I was willing to go on with that. Another thing that I had, and I mentioned this on the show with Leslie, and I said, don't tell me because I want to know.
Okay.
I was not satisfied with the way it came out, which is there is a point in the book, and this is like around the 28% mark, where they're trying to convince everybody that she is Selena. Yeah. And Ryan says, you know, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. This was a couple days ago now. They're like, oh, we think she was tortured. And Ryan backs us up by saying, well, she had a bone break that was not healed properly, and she has some other scars that weren't taken care of. And so they all chalk that up to her being tortured, the princess being tortured, not Talia. But this is Talia that he was checking out. Yeah. And so, but we're in Talia's point of view. And Talia doesn't say anything when he mentions this bone break and this other stuff. So, and I had said on the program with Leslie, I was like, this is a mystery, because now I'm wondering, okay, if Talia did come to this earth, maybe her body wasn't brought here. She's in the princess's body, because had she like broken her, I can't remember what, I don't even know if they said it was a broken arm or leg. They just said it was broken bone. But if we were in Talia's point of view and they said, oh, she had broken bones that was never healed right, then being in Talia's point of view, she could be like, oh, well, yeah, I fell out of a tree and that's how I hurt myself. And she's just keeping that information to herself. But then us as a reader, we'd be like, oh, okay, so she's not really in the princess's body. This is her body. So wherever she came from. And so then the princess, then we could already start having the idea that the princess is out there. Yeah. But that didn't happen. You know, Talia didn't make any internal comment or note about what this broken bone was or these other things, which led me to believe that she was in the princess's body. Yeah. And the fact that we find out later that she is in her own body, because she doesn't have the scar like Talia does on her lip. And I was like, that was a misdirect. And I feel that that scene would have been better served not in Talia's point of view, because then I wouldn't be feeling like, oh, the author purposely held something back from me because they knew what the real answer was.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree there. It just, I was a little confused with, again, whose body was she in really? And then, at the end, you find out for sure definitively it's not, it's hers. Yeah. And so, that probably could have been checked up. And that just also comes with, actually, I struggled with this a little bit in the book that I just released, how as an author, sometimes the way that you plan things out when you write a book, you have it a certain way in mind. And then middle of the book, you realize, oh, wait, no, that doesn't work. I need to switch it to the other thing. But then you have to make sure you kind of go back, that it flows, right? So, and thankfully I had beta readers, and then rereading it myself so many times, it's like, okay, so I caught hopefully everything, or so far as I know anyways. And, but that I'm wondering if that might've been an issue. Just,
possibly
you switch states of mind when you're writing sometimes. And then if you just don't go back and pre-check, that can happen. So yeah.
True. And I see the opposite for me happen sometimes, where I know something's going to happen and I start writing what's happening in a scene for that outcome. But I'm like, wait, this makes it too clear that that's what's going to happen. I can do this and give it a little more mystery.
There you go.
But yeah, I know what you mean about changing things halfway. You have to go back and catch all of it. I do that with all my books. I change things. I'm a discovery writer, so things change on me all the time.
Yeah, no, it's so true. So it's just doing our due diligence, right? And then it's okay.
But I would say besides those two sticking points for me, overall, I enjoyed the book. Now, I know there was a different sticking point for you that you.
Yeah. So the sticking point for me was the romance. It was too much too soon. There wasn't enough foundation, because they pretty much go all the way at some point in the book. And there wasn't enough foundational friendship or camaraderie or working together to kind of make that fulfilling. It just, yeah. And there weren't enough sparks for me. It was just kind of like, I like you and you like me, and okay, let's go. That's not, and it didn't have to be a slow burn romance either. It just felt like there were some gaps missing in the romance. So thankfully it was a subplot. I think what I would have liked to have seen was more like a very solid foundation of friendship, deep friendship over this, because, and also there's a lot of playing around too, right? There's a lot of, they're not on the same team. First of all, they're enemies. They're supposed to be enemies. And then there's a lot of, what's the word now? They have to be what they aren't. Like, nothing is as it seems. There's a lot of intrigue, right? Royal intrigue and being on different sides. So I think that would have been better served if they were just friends. But now it makes sense that you're saying that the second book is a different couple. So it kind of all had to happen in one book. So I get that. I think what would have been more fulfilling was solid layer of friendship, and then at the end kind of put in that tell that, oh, they're going to be something more. But it just,
or have that first kiss at the end.
Yeah, it just didn't have enough meat throughout the whole story for it to be a good romantic subplot.
Yeah. So, and we were talking a little bit about this behind the scenes, and I noticed a lot of the reviews. I went and read the reviews after I finished reading it, and a lot of them said the same thing, that the love story just seemed too rushed.
Yeah.
And that it didn't feel right. For me, I liked it just fine. I didn't really have too much, issues with it. Yeah. And what kind of solidified it for me that it was fine as is when she is in the bliss and her daemon tells her that they have a link with his daemon, that they're like soulmates. He says, what you guys call soulmates, that's what we are. So in that case, I was like, okay, well, no wonder they're like drawn to each other over and over and over again, is because
that's true.
They have that bond that they created with their daemons well before. And I was like, maybe, that it didn't really come to fruition as, as quickly as maybe it would have with soulmates, because she didn't have her daemon to start with.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, okay, well, this kind of goes with it. And then what was I going to say? Oh, and I felt like I kept, that there's a lot of coups that are trying to be happening, right? Yes. So one is with the Fae, and the Fae, basically they're telling Ryan, because he's close to her. He's her personal healer. He's told to stay with her. So he's always with her. So the Fae, who are there captured as indentured servants, basically, or slaves, they don't get paid, but they're trying to do their own coup to get free, and they tell him, we're going to kidnap the princess because we realized we missed our chance when she went missing the first time. Her father was, just kind of out of it. If we steal her, now we have some bargaining power. And of course, he's not really on board with it because he's getting to know her a little bit more and more. And I thought, how is this going to work? I was like, this could be, because in my head I go like, okay, the story can go this way, can go this way, this. So one half of where I was thinking where the story could go was that, he's going to kidnap her just like they all want him to, and then she's going to feel betrayed, and then that's going to cause more rifts between them that they're going to have to overcome before the end of the book. But as the book kept going and going, and there wasn't much book left, I was like, I don't think that's going to happen. So how is he going to kidnap her without her getting mad? And now that they have something they have to get over before they can be together. Yeah. And then, so to me, it made sense that they finally gave into the romance that was brewing between them. I don't know if I would have gone straight. I mean, the sex scene was fine, but I do think that maybe it felt like that part went too fast. Like it went from kissing, kind of like being, attracted to each other, kissing that one time, and then into the next. But yeah. So I thought, okay, so they had to have that moment when that scene was happening. I was like, okay, they have to have this, because now she's going to do whatever he wants, and or to support what she wants to do, to go against what the king's trying to do. So he doesn't have to kidnap her, and they're not going to have this betrayal, and she's not going to have to get over these feelings. Yeah. So I was like, okay, it makes sense that this had to happen then. Yeah.
So you raised a very good point. I was actually thinking one other way that perhaps might have helped it, because you find out that he's basically, Ryan is the doppelganger of this boy she really liked back home named Victor. Yeah. I was thinking maybe another way to help solidify that relationship with her and Ryan was to kind of put more heart into the relationship between her and Victor. Like, just give a little bit more. Not that there was just this guy she liked, but maybe made that bond a little bit stronger, just to help bring that bond over into this world. Just a thought that maybe that could have helped, but yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of, unless there's anything more that you want to add.
No, I think that's it. That was overall just a really great read. I enjoyed it. It was very different from what I usually read. And again, I love the mixing of genres. And I am looking forward to book 2, even though it's a different couple. But I actually really liked Prince Shad.
Me too.
Character. He was intriguing. Like, it gave enough of him, but not too much. So I'm curious to see where his story is going to go. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's the king who doesn't want to be a king, but knows he's the right king.
Yeah, and that's a really good trope.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay, so I did want to bring up there, I had Speeded My Heart by T.L. Russ is the last book that I had on my TBR for this month to support the Black Authortuber Readathon. I have overwhelmed myself with a lot, and I probably won't give it its due diligence. I was supposed to do this on the last day of the month. No, it was the 28th is when I was going to do it. But I'm going to, I'm still going to read it. I'm still going to come on and talk about it as in support of the Black Authortuber Readathon, but I'm going to have to push off into March. I'm hoping just that first week of March. I just have to get through the rest of February. Because this has been a really busy month. We had the Black Authortuber Readathon. I have Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints. And then Margaret and I have been spending a lot of time going through all the applications and getting the rankings from our blind proposal reviewers for the Authortube Writing Conference. And just yesterday, we solidified our plan. And then I have to start putting that into action. This is sending out lots of emails. So I still have to touch the books of my other authors coming on. So I'm just going to push it off to the first week of March. I don't know which day yet, but I will be doing that. And I just wanted to let everyone know that will become later. Next on my channel will be Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints. That's going to be tomorrow. I meant to bring it up and I forgot to. I believe this one is later in the day. Yeah, it's 4 p.m. And then that is with Flora de Villani. And I actually supported her Kickstarter for the book that we'll be talking about. So I have that book. I just haven't started reading it. So I got to get to that. So that's what's coming on next for me. I never did introduce myself. I am Shanon and you're here on my channel, SC Huston. And I'm doing Charm Chats all month. So please join me for that. I'm going to let Leah now do her outro and where people can find you next.
Yeah, so Leah Lindeman, my channel name is Pen to Paper, and I usually put out an AuthorTube video either Wednesdays or Thursdays, and then a BookTube video on Fridays, and that's where you can find me.
I never had our names up there. Here we go.
Oh.
I don't know how that got turned off.
It's never too late.
There you go. There we are. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.